The meeting is now streaming live. Hi, Nick. Hi, Jamal. I'll do the formal introduction just now. If you will allow me to share the link on all my pages.
Yeah, sure.
Kenyans need to be reminded. Oh, you're live at 1, Sawa. Now, all you need to do is remind me at 1. That's the nature of the game. What is the nature of the game? Oh, there we are. If you've tuned in, please share the link. Let your friends know that we are live. Live now. Share to my Facebook group. Live now. By the way, you guys, for me, this is such a big show. Simply because my inbox is permanently full of people asking questions that I'm now going to pass on to you. Because you guys are the brains in this business. Me, I'm just a talker.
Yeah.
I'm just a talker. Give me 1 second. I share to one more platform, and then we will get to go. Can't wait for Corona to get better, then we're back in studio. Back live. I don't like talking to people on screens. I'm old school. I'm old school.
You're old school. You should probably, the next live show you should probably do in our center.
By the way, what Jamal has just sent me, you have no idea what you've just offered me. You have no idea what you've just offered me.
Yeah.
I'll move in and I won't leave.
No problem. All your shows, your fanatics shows, you can host them there.
This chick has overstayed her welcome. Is there such a thing in Kenya?
Yeah.
She came and she never left. Anyway, guys, this is Radull Live, and today, as you can see, I have 2 very important guests. But you have no idea how important these 2 men are. Let me first introduce my good old friend, Nick Kimanthi, CEO at Atotos Sports Management. Hi, Nick, how are you doing?
I'm good, Carol.
I've known you for a long time.
Yeah, it's good. We should have like a 10 years anniversary or something.
A reunion.
Like a 10 years anniversary, like of our friendship. I know.
Ron, you used to be very skinny and small. Nowadays, I don't know what you're eating there, Atoto. Allow me to introduce Jamal Ibrahim, Director at Atotos Sports Management. Hi, Jamal. How are you doing?
I'm well, Radull. I hope you're doing well.
Now you've suddenly become humble. Just now you're making so much noise. Now your volume has gone down.
Radull is out for live.
So you took a live. There's no difference between live and not live. It's just live and it's just banter. We're just talking. Let me send some shout outs for people who have already tuned in. Then we'll get into our conversation. Lucy Ndegwa. Hi, Radull. I'm watching. Sesmo Wanjala following. Ronald Okot says, say hi to the 2 gentlemen. Xavier Guitar, and nobody's greeting me, they're only greeting you, Sawa. Xavier Guitar Masharia reporting live from Bali's. That's in Thika. Joseph Kitarian still plays. He says, I'm watching from Ruwiru. Raima Jaka, greetings from Kingston, Jamaica. B-Ball, Kenya. Is there a way basketballers can be managed by Atotos management? Okay, the questions have already started. We'll get there. Min Blessing, present, Karoyalty, she's watching from Abu Dhabi. Jose Mushiri, locked and welcome. Joy Gaviga, locked. Rogers Obondo, locked from Kericho. People Kenya says basketballers are already in. And then Ronald says, great to see Nick, 2 great gentlemen taking the local scene international. Nick, I realized you are fans. What the hell? Whoa. My timeline was going for the last 2 days. Sort of Nick Kimanthi fans, even my friends who don't even watch football.
Yeah.
Well, I'll start with Nick, since you're not a guest per se. I'll start with Jamal. Jamal, introduce yourself and give us your journey in football, from when you started until when you got into Atotos Sports Management.
Thank you so much, Radull, to invite. This was a big thing for us. Born and grown up in Isli, mini Jamal.
Can you speak up a little bit? You're a little bit low. What happened to the name?
Islando. I played my. I'm back.
Jamal, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, sawa, endelea.
Yeah, born and grown up in Eastleigh, side Islando. I played football when I was young, under 12, under 14, Maisa, Center, Eastleigh. I'm a product of Maisa.
Maisa product.
Yeah. Played under 16 Center, Eastleigh, and fly 2003 under 16 Norway Cup with Maisa. So football journey imeanzia hapo. Moved to Sweden 2005, 2006. Played in Sweden, Division 3. That was the highest level nimecheza. And then moved from there and went to the sports management. And now I'm working at Atotos Sports Management from 2015. Now vile ilianza, it was amazing. We started with one of the biggest Kenyan players. Moved from Kenya to Sweden.
Who are some of the biggest players you've played with? I know Maisa is literally most of our biggest players are products of Maisa.
My role, I will tell you my role models. My role models was Titus Mulama. When I was young, I was like, I want to be like Titus Mulama. You know, Jamal Mohamed Malo was one of the inspiring players, because I used to play midfield. So wachezaji wakubwa kama was like, oh, I wish ningekuwa Walter Odede, who used to play for Mathare United. That was the inspiration players that nilikuwa naangalia nikiwa mdogo. Wachezaji wakubwa nimecheza nao, nilicheza Norway Cup. That was, it was big to enter Norway that time, 2003, selection of 300 to 400 kids together. Now only 16 players flying to Norway. That was the biggest thing in my life, where the life changed. Maisha yangu imechange hapo, and it was Norway Cup. The first flight, my first passport, first time kwenda Euro. It was amazing. Then I came back, concentrating the school, was the high school, St. Teresa's Boys in Eastleigh. Then hapo ndio nimeanza kufikiria kwenda Europe, because maisha it wasn't easy. Some people right now wanaona tukifanya Atotos doing big things, but tumetoka mbali. Good friend of mine alikuwa ananiuliza juzi, ulizaliwa Karen ama ulizaliwa Hurlingham? And I was like, nimezaliwa Pumwani Maternity.
The hood.
Yeah.
And I guess it's what you saw when you grew up that made you get into the career you're in.
Very true. Because what happened is there's a lot of talents in Kenya. Very, very talents. A lot of talents in Kenya. But hatuna wale jamaa, you can call them scouts, real scouts. You don't have any agents. Wanaweza chukua mchezaji from point A to point B. Of course, there's a lot of agents, that local agents wanaweza chukua point A, local team to point B, local team. And that's okay. But me vile nimeenda Europe, my dream was to bring one of the players in Kenya. And now we have more than 10 players East Africa playing in Europe. So that's how journey started.
We'll get into that a bit more. Let me bring in my dear friend, Nick. Hey, Nick, what's your football journey, by the way? you, I know it's here.
No, I think my football journey started back in the village. People always think that I was born in Nairobi, but I wasn't born in Nairobi. I was born in the village.
A village boy.
I'm a village boy. Some village in Makueni, it's called Q, like Q, just Q. So anyway, that's where I grew up. But my journey into football, first, like any other boy growing up in Kenya, in Africa, your parents only want you to focus with academics and all that. But I still had that passion for sports. I still had that connection. So I just did my undergrad in finance, just for the parents and all that. But still, I had that thing in me that still, I just want to do something in football. I want to do something in sports. So just trying to jump off. Okay, I played football. I was one of the people that started Sakata Dimba as Faricom, then changed to Chapandimba. Then I used to play around Komarok. That's where I used to stay by there. So just trying to go forward to the real business, which is the business of sport, because I like talking about business of sports. I joined a university in Barcelona, in Spain, where I did my first master's in football business. Then getting into football business, I realized I'm getting just into football alone. Then I thought, why not now expand more, maybe to other sports and all that. That's when I enrolled for my MBA in sports management. In my MBA sports management, at least I could get to learn about other sports, about golf, about Formula One and all that, those other sports, how they generate income and all that. And I think that has been my journey. And living in Barcelona opened me up because things are different there. It's a community club. We have a community club called Maya or FC. But those are two totally different products when it comes to brand and all that. Because it's the same model, community. I'm not even talking about individual or clubs like Manchester, Arsenal, and all that. This is a community club. But their level, it's massive. And it's not something that can't be done back here home. But our approach, it's something that not unless you see, maybe you go through the school and all that and get to know why people do things in a particular way and where there's a need of a structure, you can understand. So I think we'll keep having this discussion, but I can say that has been my journey into football and into the world of sport business.
How did you two meet and decide, let's form Atotos Sports Management, and then tell me what Atotos Sports Management does?
You see, there's this thing about the exposure. It opens you up knowing that me as Nick, I don't need to struggle looking for players. If there's someone who has already established that network, why should I just join with him? I take care of the other aspect of the business. He takes care of the aspect of the players.
And that was Jamal. Jamal is the football brains of the organization.
Jamal
Radull hata nastuka sana wananika ameniambia he played football.
Ati?
Nastuka sana Nick vile anasema alicheza ball.
Nick played, but you know Nick looks like a softie. The guy who can play and has the hookup. So, but basically speaking, so between the two of you, what does Atotos Sports Management does? Is it just an agency, or it's also you scout for players and then you act as a go-between as well? You're an agent.
Okay, so Atotos Sports, what we do, we do several things, and those things, their way they relate to each other. Some of the things that we do, we decided to do them because of the challenges that we faced, just to make sure that we get that end product, which is our player. Because our core business is having good players that you can represent them. Because one of the challenges that we face while representing players from Kenya, it's because you can imagine someone from the national team having to start from a third division club in Europe, just because they are missing some basic concept about football. So going to Atotos Sports. Atotos Sports is a sports management company, whereby we have 4 or 3 things that we do. First is represent players in terms of we negotiate contracts. We have contracts with some clubs in Europe. We're going to go into details with that, what kind of contracts and how we work with them. That is the player side. So we thought for us to get that good player, we also need to invest in the coach. Because I can't be in Kisumu trying to develop a player, but if I skill a coach in Kisumu, probably that coach is going to develop a holistic player that when I take in the market, I won't have so much problem, because at least some of the basics, they have most of the basics, because most of the basics, Caro, is something you and me can do. Ball handling, what do you do with the ball? Because it's about decision making. how quick do you make decisions? Yeah. How quick do you make decisions? So that's why we thought of then we partnered with our partners in Europe, in Sweden. They're called Super Culture. We sometimes back I asked to send some coaches because we did coach training because we thought everything is changing with technology and all that. So we developed an app. It's a training app with a training session for a coach. You as a coach, we have everything in that app. Yeah, from age of 5 years, because as a coach, there's a way you're supposed to train a 5-year-old, different from how you're supposed to train a 7-year-old, different from how you're supposed to train a 9-year-old. Then from 9-year-old to 13-year-old, how do you transition from 13-year-old? Because not between the age of 13-year-old, you should be able to know now this player can be a professional athlete from the age of 13. That's why now from the age of 13, 14, 15, from the age of 13, 14, you're supposed to be taught on how to use systems and all that. That's why by the age of 15, you should be able to play fast in football, 15, 16.
15, 16, you're not learning how to play the game.
No, you're not learning how to play the game.
Jamal, is that where we get it wrong here? Because here it's like somebody's good in high school and then they realize
there's a young boy who plays in PSG, Simon Xavi. He's just 17 years old and he already played PSG first team. So 17 years old and it's the PSG. You know, Nick amesema we need to start from 5 years. So ile uko 14 years old, then that's the time we say this guy is supposed to be somewhere.
So as a Toto, do you have you don't have a player training program, but when it comes to coaches, it's the app system. Basically.
No, we do. I was just trying to explain. So that's one of the things that we do. The agency, and we've invested in the coaches. We have that app that we train them. Then we have now the center that we've developed at Lenana Road next to our office. So this center is an indoor center where we prepare players. David Majak, we've been there with him for the last 5 months. We've been training him. We've been trained to prepare him. Because in that center, Caro is a football player or an athlete. You only work for 2 hours. That's probably 90 minutes. But the rest of the hours will determine the kind of player that you're going to be. Because if you ask me, in Kenya, we have the best talent. We have the best footballers. But do you have professional athletes? I would say no.
So you have players who train there at Lenana Road?
Yes, we have players that train there.
Can someone bring their child there, Amma? It's handpicked.
Okay, for elite players, we have to do some trials because. But for the young players, you can bring the young players from the age of 5 until the age of 13. We can still train you because we want to start from the age of 5 years, trying to give you the right training. By the time you're 13, you already move into a professional player. So we have that center where we have a full program whereby we have nutrition and conditioning. We deal with football skill. We do counseling and motivational. That's why Cheche came to talk with the boys because
I saw Cheche at your office the other day. He was a motivational speaker.
Because they need to hear from someone who has been in the industry. Because I can keep giving them stories. Then they'll be asking me, who did chase the ball what? But if Cheche, Olunga, Marcelo talks to them, it's not a different thing because football is all about mental. And if you don't have that mental strength, we have the contacts to take you here from Europe, but we need to prepare you.
You mentioned Marcelo. Jamal, which other players does Atoto represent at the moment?
Our first client was Eric Omondi, Kenya number 10, Johanna Mapake, Eric Ouma Marcelo.
For those,
Anthony Wambani.
For those who don't know, tell us where they play now.
Okay, Eric Ouma, Eric Eric Johanna Mapake, he plays in Sweden, Yon Shopping. He plays in Sweden last, I think, 4 years. Eric Ouma, he plays one of the biggest club, man, from 4th division to one of the biggest clubs in Sweden, AIK. Tuko na Anthony Wambani, he plays in Barcelona in Sweden. Tuko na Locale, Sydney Locale, he was in Finland. David Machak is going to Kalmar soon in 2 weeks. So we have a lot of Kenyan players.
So most of your contacts, of course, are in Sweden because that's where you played. So that's where do you have an office in Sweden at the moment? Because at the time you're based
we
there.
We have an office in, I still live in Sweden. Home in Sweden. The second home is Sweden. First home Kenya. Yeah? I lived in Sweden last 15 years. So that's why we have a good contact, a very, very good network in there. But it's not about that. Ukiangalia Sweden, we had a lot of Kenyan players played in Sweden. We're talking about McDonald's Mariga Alianzia Sweden, from 4th division of that division to the top league, to Parma, to Inter Milan, to Champions League. We are talking about Patrick Osiako still played there. Legend Tom Juma played there. Titus Mulama played in Sweden. Jamal Mohamed Malo played Sweden.
Olunga was in Sweden, yes.
Olunga played in Sweden, and he was, Olunga opens a lot of doors for Kenyans. I'll be just honest with you guys, because Olunga Lifanya, he changed the game. We had a lot of Kenyan players played in Sweden, but Olunga changed the game because the goals that he scored, the pesa he used, the transfer fee, it was the highest transfer fee from Youth Garden. It is the highest transfer fee history in Youth Garden, Bakasai. So Olunga Lifungwangaya, Olunga opens the doors for a lot of Kenyans. So for me, it's much easier to say, Kenya, Michael Olunga. Oh, Olunga played Youth Garden. It's easy, but right now, when the Belgium kuongea about Olunga, yes, of course, it's a big name, but he never played in Belgium. So that's why it's much easier kupeleka wachezaji Sweden. And we have a very contact there. And we have an office in Sweden.
What does Atotos Sports Management look for when scouting? Do you first look for clubs who need players, or you look for a player who's good and find him a club? How do you decide who to represent?
Sometimes we get demands from the clubs. Like you said, we need a striker, a very fast, technically good goal scorer. Sometimes they say we need a central defender, is the club side. Then maybe a player like right now, a very hot player like Major, who plays in Tusker, a very good player, young player, 19 years old. We start calling the clubs to say, hey, he's a very good player, top striker, 19 years old. So it's both sides. There's sometimes my clubs looking for players. There's sometimes we as an agent looking looking different clubs for players.
Do you visit academies? Do you watch Kenyan Premier League, or all of the above? How do you find good players? Because the problem with Kenya, most countries you'd expect the best players in the Premier League, but here you'll find there are fantastic players in local leagues that nobody ever finds them.
To be honest with you, Radull, after sending coach Premier League, yeah, of course, Premier League the biggest league in Kenya. But what we are looking for, they're not playing in Premier League, and it's not Atotos. It's about the clubs in Europe. Now tunangia about players who are 16-year-old. Now we signed a 16-year-old from Kibera, central midfielder, left-footed, played for Kenyan national team under 17. Because why did we sign him while he was 15 years old? All the way back kuongea na parents, and parents could not believe it. Kuambia, who is 16-year-old, in 2 years tunataka kumpeleka madhe, tunataka kupeleka kijana kwa Europe. And the room, everyone was like, shh, what's happening? And I explained to them why. He's very good, humble boy, hardworking. He trains in our center 3 to 4 times, 2 times in a day. Hata kama amefunga Ramadhani. So why 16-year-old? We prepare him for 2 years. When he's 18 years old, I know exactly which club will take this boy. Because already now, when he's 16 years old, showing our clubs to piga ma profile, marketing, how good he is, captain of national team, under 17, and they will make a follow-up. The scouts will come here and watch him. So if I come back to your question, we go more to the Tanzanians, looking for 14, 15, 12 years old, prepare them. And agency business, it needs a lot of patience. Sile unanunua nyanya unataka kuuza saa hiyo. No, it needs a lot of patience. It needs a lot of trainings. It needs a lot of, building mental, physically. It needs a lot of motivation talks. So coming back again to your question, yes, young players. Of course, there's a Premier League players who plays 18. There's a Premier League players who are 20 years old, 19 years old, like Major. Of course, we have to watch. We have to watch him because he plays in the top league in Kenya, which I think is the best league in East Africa.
What do did you say Kenyan Premier League is the best league in East Africa?
Yeah.
Based on,
you know why?
In terms of
player
player quality or what?
Radull, yes, exactly. Player quality. If we go back to East Africa, talked about, Tanzania, the biggest league in East Africa right now, with a lot of money. But how many Tanzanians are playing in Europe? None. Samantha playing in Turkey. But any young players? No. Uganda, the powerhouse of East Africa. But how many players are playing in Europe? None. So there's a reason why I'm saying Kenyan league is the best league in East Africa.
But is it by design or we just bump into this? Because yes, we have players in but how often do we get an Olunga or a Wanyama or all these things, And I guess that's where, fine, you guys are doing what you can do, but on a larger scale, do we have enough people working with young footballers? Do we have enough programs developing the young footballers?
I don't think we have, but there's one thing probably, Carol, we need to make it clear. These things that people confuse: a scout, an agent, and a football manager. Because
educate me.
Because these are all different people, but work together in different way. Let's start with an agent. That is what we do. We are an agency company. So we represent athletes, which are players. We negotiate contracts. We also work with other agents. An example, we might be interested with a particular player, but that player is an agent. You see? So we approach the agent, tell them, okay, we like your client, but we have some offer in this club. That's work of an agent, representing the player. Every time you go, you're just thinking of, I have these products. How can I sell it? The product in this case is a player. Mm-hmm. Now we have scouts. Scouts, an example like I'm an Arsenal fan. Mm-hmm. Arsenal, there's a way they structure their training, there's a way they have their philosophy. That we used to have a philosophy back then. So we are able to know we are looking for this kind of a player because this kind of a player will fit in our system. So as a scout, I'm representing only my club, Arsenal. So if I'm going out there, I know I want 1, 2, 3. And this 1, 2, 3 should be this way. So that's why scout, when they come to Kenya, probably they might not see what they're looking for because they are looking for a specific player, maybe in terms of height, in terms of speed, in terms of body and all that, because that is what they're representing. They are just limited to specific roles. But for a scout, for an agent, I can see a different player which a scout A didn't like, but a scout B can like, depending on the role of the player and how they play. Then there's now football, a player manager. A player manager is now just trying to advise the player and all that, which in most cases it contradicts the job of an agent, because sometimes you might negotiate.
This is their relatives who don't really know what they're doing.
Yeah. But I don't want to go into details because, yeah. But those people like they've probably have been there for the player. They've been helping them buy shoes. They've been helping them maybe just being in the line of. But
Oops, he's frozen. Okay, we'll continue without him while he sorts his network.
Nick,
Jamal, what do parents need to know? Assuming I'm a parent, I'm watching this show, I have an 8-10-year-old son or daughter who plays football. I want to put him in an academy or he's already in one. What do they need to know to prepare that child for you to be able to say, I'm taking this child to Europe?
Radull is very simple. Nick alisema there's a different age of young players. Now we are training a 5-year-old to 5, let's say 5 to 10. Let them just enjoy the ball. No, you can't tell them, hey, of course, I can see the talent because it's different. You can see the talent, very simple. Vile unaona tu mtoi ana pass ball, vile mtoto anachukua ball, vile anachenga wenzake. You see this is the talent, but you can't tell him, this young boy, nataka uwe professional while he's just 5 to 10 years. So meaning our advice, my parents, let the boys from 5 to 10 enjoy the ball to 12. Then if you see he has that extra thing, which is the talent, my coaches wanaonanga, my scout wanaonanga, start to prepare the boy too early. Because football right now, it may change. It may change in a different way. With 16-year-old, he has to be in a league. He has to play in the league. So 12 years old, lazima anze kucheza ball, acheze na wenzake, you can see the skills. Then make 2 different groups. There's a group that is talent, very, very talent, as the academy. And there's a group that developing group, which developing group means maybe the boy is good, is not good. Maybe he can be in this group as long as, the more he grows, the more he trains a lot. So ukiweka 2 different groups, then the talent group will prepare them for just, you never know who will be the best, but prepare them for the next level. So hiyo ndio kitu mimi ningeadvise the parents. Which is very good right now ni my parents are supporting their kids. Manze enzi zetu nilikuwa napigwa kiatu nikisema za ball. My mom didn't know nina fly Norway until last day. Ngambia mother, I want to tell you something. Nikiogopa, naenda Norway. You understand? So, but these days is different. These days the parents are there. They're supporting their kids. Don't pressure the kids. Let them have fun. But at the same time, try to prepare them mentally, physically. It can be not almost 500,000 kids playing football in Kenya. Not everyone will become a professional. Not everyone will become Eric Ouma. Not everyone will become Michael Olunga. But prepare him to become maybe a sports management agent, to become a football agent, to become a goalkeeper trainer, But prepare him that he doesn't have to be a football professional player, but push him as much as you can. So I think don't pressure the kids.
The advantage for parents nowadays is they've seen the Olungas, they've seen the Wanyamas. The football, international football is more visible. They're beginning to see that my son can have a career in this as a footballer, as opposed to your days when I'm sure your mom wanted you to be a teacher or a lawyer or a doctor or something, But in terms of contract signing, Nick, let me bring you in here. Jamal was just telling me when your network went, how parents can prepare their children and basically let them just play the game when they're very young, and then a bit later on, see whether to put them into professional academies. When it comes to contracts, because I know parents, one, they'll think their child is the best in the world. I have a friend of mine called Saluda. If you ask him about his son, he'll tell you his son is the next Lionel Messi. and then they think they need to have their child signed by somebody. At what point do you say, I need to get a manager for my son? Or should they come to Atotos Sports Management? Or if they're an academy, what type of contracts should they sign with that academy? Just in terms of contracting, because I know it happens where you probably want a player, but they're tied down because of contracts they signed years ago, which are a bit meaningless.
Radull, a young boy who's 15, 13, 14, 16, 18 years old, he doesn't need to sign any contract, any agent. Because, to sign a contract with agent or manager, it means the boy is very, very talented. It means we don't sign a contract with any player until we are sure about the player. Until tunajua, Nick, I have a team for you, na nataka kusign to take you to the next level.
But you don't sign anything that shows that you've developed this player?
Yes, we do that. Like 16-year-old I was talking about Raja. We sign a contract with him because we are sure, inshallah, we are sure in 5 years he will play in Premier League. For him it's just, but you can't sign every player. You can't sign every kid that's playing in the academy. So we have a rules that will sign the players that we are sure that will take them to the next level. Hii mambo ya kwenda kwa kila mchezaji, and sign for me the contract, and you will not take him anywhere. That's very unfair for the young players.
So parents should not get into any contracts in the academies. It's like a school. You pay and you train my child.
Yes. No, I think when it comes to let's take example academy. Let's take an example Atotos Football Academy. The kid wants to play in our academy. The contract we'll sign is a contract that your son or daughter will train in our academy 4 or 5 times in a week. In case, which is a professional contract, in case we want to take him to the next level, just know he's under his contract is under our club or academy. So that's a contract between the club, academy, and the family. So it's not about the manager. So what I was trying to explain about is about the agency and the managers.
Okay, Nick, you were going to come in there because for me, academies, especially most academies in Kenya, don't, like, you will charge, maybe you'll charge the rich kids, the poor kids will play for free, that's based on talent and things like that. You probably have the same model, I don't know. But at some point, the academy will feel that I developed this child. What if you don't have a contract with a child? A Toto comes and sees that child in a tournament, goes and grabs him, and the academy loses out altogether.
So I think that's where Jamal explained, because as sports agents, so we want the best players. So if we spot, so that's up to, okay, our academies here is a lot that needs to be done. I'm just going to the basic. Basic is if we just have professional contracts with your players. Just the same way, just simple contract. We are getting into a contract. Of course, under 18 can't sign, so the parent has to sign on behalf of the kids. So your kid will be training in our academy 3 or 4 times in a week. These sessions, we hope to develop whatever your kids will get to the next level. But you have to put a clause if your kid wants to transfer to another academy or is spotted by a scout or an agent, you have to notify us. And if the agent or the scout is a genuine one, they won't advise you to just leave the academy, because we need the release letter, and the release letter comes from the academy, and that's why again academies need to be affiliated with the country federations. That way is going to be easier, because otherwise you can't just start an academy in some street. Then you are charging parents. Then it's not affiliated by the country federation, because when it comes to development fee, because development fee is something can come even after 10 years. Even after 10, yeah, you need to be registered. Otherwise, if you're not affiliated with the country federation. As an agent, probably you can't do that because you're supposed to have your own academy lawyers that advise you. But if you are a client, partnership, an example, I'll give you, we have a partnership with Kidogo because the player that we picked, the 15-year-old, plays for Kidogo. We don't own the player. The player is our client, but the player plays at Kidogo. But we prepare him because he's our client, because we want him to be the best. Because once the player is signed, that's how we make our money. But we can't make money by just signing you. That's what Jamal said. We don't just sign anyone. We don't want to hold you in a contract, because that's what most people do. They just hold you in a contract like you belong to them. No one belongs to us. Once we sign you, we have a policy as an organization. Once you join our client list, we want to have a success rate of 90%. Like you sure, once we sign you, we just have to work on a few things. Because an example, Majak, we started working with Majak 2019. But when is the move materialized? 2021. So that means there's several things that we are doing those years. And it's not like in 2019, Majak wasn't a good player. He was a good player. But there are some of the things that we are trying to prepare him. And even as an agency, we have a name to protect out there because we have partners in Europe. So people need to start thinking as a business, because if I buy something, if I subscribe an internet to Zuku, I expect them to keep me for this hour without having to be disconnected. So people need to start seeing football as a business, whereby it's a win-win situation. I come pick something from you that I don't have. Then I take it to the market. I make money, I get my percentage, but don't tell me that you want 10 million. Let's talk in terms of percentage, because I'm also not sure how much that player is worthy.
Yeah, we were having that discussion the other day where you were telling me some of the challenges you go through when you do approach academies for players. Yeah. Explain what you were explaining to me the other day.
Yeah, because if you tell me, Nick, I want 10 million, I can't afford to pay 10 million for a player. But let's talk in terms of percentage.
So demanding an outright fee, basically.
You can Jamal can tell you, because now he deals directly with the player.
What responses are you getting if you identify a player from an academy? What are some of the responses you're getting? And how should the whole process be handled? Assuming you go to, say, Fantasy Academy, which I was in Kitengela last Sunday. You go there and you see a good player. What is the process?
Radull, always depends with the value of the player. You know, let's say a Premier League team has a very talented player, like David Majak. You know, we look the value of David Majak. How many games did he played? Amefunga bao ngapi? How good is he? Then we write his CV to the clubs, tunatumia the European clubs that we have such talented players. You know, Vilenika amesema it's a business. You know, the European clubs will say, let's take Bure. You know, we want free for this player, and it doesn't work like that. So I come back to the club and say, can you release this player free? The club in Kenya say, no, we want 10 million. Then that's the realistics coming in. 10 million. What's the value of the player? It's not 10 million because he doesn't even play the games. So, munataka kuuza pesa ngapi? You know, that's how it goes. So it depends with the value of the player. Someone like, you know.
But I hope there's no one asking for players for zero, because then what is the value?
The value is the, you know, the value is the value. Sometimes value can be the future signing on. You know, they will give you a percentage. The European clubs will give you the percentage, which sometimes the percentage is much better than taking $10,000. And understand, if I give you 30% of, I don't know, 400 million Kenya shillings, that's a lot of money, rather than taking $10,000. So it depends with the club. So I always explain to the clubs, okay, wacha tuachilie mchezaji for free right now, but utapata 30% in the future. Then let's say example, Michael Olunga, aliuzwa almost 450 million Kenya shillings from Youth Garden to Chinese club. If you get 30% of that, that's a lot of money for a Kenyan Premier League club.
Yeah, it goes to get me lunch.
Alikubaya is good friend of mine. Zai Patangata Dondo Chapo. Aye, coaches. Anyway, so that's the way it is. You know, that's the way it is. You know, it depends with the value of the player. It doesn't matter if he plays.
What exposure will this club get? If a club wants him for free, you guys make an assessment and see what exposure, like Olunga going to Djurgården. Most people have not even heard of that club until he went there. But if your job then is to see what is, okay, he didn't go there for free, but assuming he did, what is his potential of getting a bigger club? So that's part of your job. And I guess
exactly.
people here need to respect that.
Exactly. So let's say example, Olunga Ama Marcelo went to an Egyptian club and paid for $100,000. Then what's next? You know, that's where sometimes we go wrong. You know, ile pesa sahi. But if you are patient and we know the player is good, we'll advise you, please take your 40%. But I guarantee you, in 2-3 years, you will get 40% of, I don't know, a lot of money. So it depends with the value of the player. There's some players are very good. The clubs will pay money now and percentage in the future. And some players, the clubs they're not sure about the players in East Africa. They don't know anything about East Africa. You know, most of the clubs in Europe, they are focused in West Africa. You know, that's where they believe there's superstars like, you know, the best stars that like Atotos. So since you kuleta these clubs to East Africa, it's a very challenging. Then a club asks for 10 million Kenya shillings for a player that even club doesn't know who he is. It's very difficult.
And unfortunately, we've had so many players who've gone abroad and either they've done trials for 3 months and come back, or in the case of, was it Blackberry who went to, where was it he went? I think for 1 season. And the coach was
a Danish club.
Yeah, and the coach was too much, Lirudi, you know. So I guess Kenyans were still a very big gamble for a lot of European clubs on whether it's going to work out or not. Or how these guys...
What we do?
The guys who are going for trials, how are they going? Is that... Are there clubs who do trials?
You know how we started Radull? Our first client was Mapaki, who is Kenya number 10, Johanna. And tumempeleka with trials. And one of the biggest clubs where Marcelo plays right now, AIK, everything went well. But yet, najua, these things between 2 clubs didn't went well. So from that time, we decided as a total sports.
Yeah. Okay, now Jamal's network has...
Management, we don't do trials to our Radull.
Yeah. Your network is back. Sawa.
Yeah. From that time to now, we don't take trials to our players. You know, and we decided with clubs. Of course, we can take a loan, 6 months loan. The problem with the trials is you can take a player trials for 2 weeks, maximum 10 days. It's winter, very cold.
Okay, your network is breaking up. Sorry, your network is breaking up. Just repeat that, please.
Let's say we take a player for trials for winter time. Ni baridi, mchezaji hajaitoka Kenya. You know, the culture, the food anapewa. You know, the training, the football is very fast there. Pop. It will be very shocked for him. But that's why we decided if we are taking a player, minimum time tunamchukua ni 6 months. And that's what we did with the Sydney Locale. That's what we did with the David Majak right now. Because wachezaji wanataka time. You know, if you talk about a player like Michael Olunga, he plays Youth Garden. First 6 months, it was tough. It was tough to adapt the lifestyle. You know, it's not that Michael is not a good player. He's one of the best players in East Africa. But ile time ya kuadapt ilichukua time. Then last 6 months your season or 3 months your season, start scoring goals every day, and that's why they sold him that much, So we decided we are not taking any player trials. Trials is not the best thing to do with the young Kenyan players or East African players, because it's not easy. You just come in place, watu wanaongea Kiswedish, unashanga huyu jamaa anasema nini bana, So
culture shock.
Trials are not the best thing to do.
Yeah, there are these guys, and I don't know if I told you about this, Nick. They've been inboxing me, and all of a sudden there are more and more and more of these young boys saying I've been approached by some scouts who want me to go to Barcelona, where, and they're asking for a registration fee. They're telling me I need to pay this much in transport and accommodation. And all of a sudden, I mean, I had like 1 or 2 cases in the last 2 years, but in the last 3 months, there've been at least 10 different young guys who have inboxed me, telling me, and when I tell them it's a con, they think I want to kill their careers. Radull, you wait, when I'm big, I'll forget you. They've started.
Radull, we just need to be honest with parents. Huh? This talent, it's something that you can't force. You can't just force. And someone telling you that they're in Barcelona or they're in Europe, and they need you, you're an asset. So they should pay. You see, our players. Yeah, because our player, we never ask them for flight ticket, flight money and all that. Because that's why we say that we only sign you if we know we are going to secure a club for you. And that's why we've introduced now this program. We're trying to prepare our players, because we want to take you through a system whereby we tell you how many hours are you supposed to sleep as a professional player, what kind of food are you supposed to eat, just trying to take you through the life such that once you go to Europe, it won't be hard for you to transition, because we invest in our time, we invest in our resources and all that. So we don't want to take you to Europe as a gamble, such that even the 6 months, you still have hard time. We want to prepare you right now. Then once you just go to Europe, the transition is going to be easier, because these things are not easy. Even me personally moving to Europe wasn't easy, and I'm not going to play football. I'm not going to be under pressure. Remember,
homesick in Barcelona, I remember.
Yeah. Remember. Yeah. People need to know that it's a business at the end of the day. Those people are investing their money to pick you from Kenya to Europe. So they expect, the reason why they're investing in you, it's because they want you to help their team. They want you to help their club.
Yeah, and I keep telling people that if somebody really wanted you to go for trials and they think you're that good, they would pay your registration, they would pay your flight, they would pay your accommodation, and they would recover their money knowing you're going to make it, you're going to be signed. But they don't want to listen. These young boys don't want to listen.
Radull, there's one of our clients up in our center. A few days ago, with this mama wamekuja kwa center, explained to me there's a guy who want to take them to Portugal. I was like, wow, that's amazing. A direct contract from Portugal. Tunataka to sign contract, but we need to pay $5,000, 5,000 euros. Please, let me just make it easy for you. Let me just make it easy for you. Bring the contract, we sign the contract, then we'll give you the money.
Yeah.
You know, there's no club. Vilenika mesema, parents have to be very careful. There's no club will take 5,000 euro to sign a player. Who will pay the salary? Who will pay accommodation? Who will, that's just, see, it's not something real. So please, parents, be careful with that.
There are no shortcuts to making it big, man. There are no shortcuts. A question which someone had asked, the b-ball guy had asked, do you represent basketballers, or you're strictly, Atotos is strictly football?
One of the things that we decided, like as Atotos, we want to focus on one sport, because we always get requests from our partners in the US do you have good basketball players? But we don't want to get in that line for now. We just want to focus on football first, then we can get to basketball. But for now, we're strictly doing football because as an agency, we want, once we sign into in our company, we don't just want to hold in a contract. We want at least to make sure that we take it to the next level.
So a lot of focus first. Let me just send a few shout outs because people are saying I'm ignoring them. Kevin Oswere, these are the kind of topics we need more often. Guys, ask questions as well. He's following from Nyilima Sports Ground, home of Dero FC. Mathenge wa Waigwa, Radull, I'm locked, and a very insightful discussion. Salimia Nick Sana. Hey, Nick, your fans. You should open a fan club, eh? Jose Mushiri says, I'm locked. Christopher Musotsi is locked in. Let me see. Caroline Mukami following from Embu County. Yeah, are these rumors about the lockdown being lifted, or these are just people spreading rumors here? They're idle. Xavier Gitao Masharia, vile madem wamejaa huko na feel kufuga ndevu. Okay, that's on a light note. Ladies, okay. We're talking about football. By the way, do you represent women as well? Do you have any female clients?
Jamal should tell you the story.
I don't like Jamal's smile. I don't like it. It has a story which I'm not going to like.
No, with one of my partners. Can you hear me?
Sorry?
Partners. You know, there's a club in Sweden. There's a club in Sweden. We're looking for a top striker. Hammarby, which is one of the biggest clubs in Sweden. They are looking for two strikers, wasichana, very good, talented. And it wasn't my line, but one of my partners, Willie from Kenya, to that club. And it was winter time. It wasn't the best time. And Manze, I wish I could do that, but it's very difficult. It's not easy. The experience.
One thing at a time, but I hope in the future it's something you consider.
Yeah, definitely. I was speaking with the former coach of Kenya national team women. Now we were talking about how we can help our girls, because that's the nearest dream we have to go to World Cup. So yeah, definitely, of course.
Yes, just to add on what Jamal said, it's something we are open to, but at the same time, it's a very sensitive because at the end of the day, they are sensitive. You have to handle with care and all, they're fragile and all that. So you need especially someone in our team, and that someone can't be me, and probably can be Jamal, maybe a female in that industry. If we see someone probably who can take care of that, can probably show them how to go about that, because it gets to a point whereby there's some quick answers I can't give a lady, because being an agent,
women on staff. Do you have any women on your staff?
No, you see, being an agent, you're like a parent. Being an agent, you're like a parent. These players, they tell you everything. So you're not ready to listen to everything when it comes to ladies.
Right now, you look so afraid of women. You look so afraid of women.
No, but I think there's 2-3 players, Kenyan ladies playing in Sweden, because of our former national team captain Robert Momba. He was a coach na akachukua wasichana yetu watatu, and they were doing very, very well. Yeah. So definitely I spoke with a lot of people. I spoke with Robert Mambo about that. I spoke with the coach David, so definitely in the future on Lazima, we need our girls to be one of the best.
Our girls do so well already, despite the lack of attention on them. There's a question here from Johanna Ochieng. He said, how much percentage do they take from their clients?
Clients? Which clients? Because we have two different kind of clients.
You take a percentage from the club, and do you take? And I'm assuming you take a percentage.
Let me explain, Radull. There's a different percentage that we can talk about it here. There's a transfer fee, club to club. Let's say a European club paying our Kenyan clubs. Yeah. Then there's an agent fee that the European club will pay the agent. Then there's a salary that goes direct to the player, and there's a signing fee that direct goes to the player. So it depends. The salary of the player depends 3 to 10%. So it depends. It's a client to client. That's the salary of the player.
So you take 3 to 10% of a player's salary.
It depends.
Okay, it's on a case-by-case basis.
Yes.
And, and on the signing fee, do you have a standard rate for the signing fee?
No. Signing fee, we always, as an agent, we are the player side. So we'll try to give the signing fee, the best signing fee we can give to our clients.
Okay. There's another question here from Mahad Niyule. It says, I'm 16 years old. Can I be part of Atotos?
Yeah, definitely. Of course, tuko na ofisi yetu Lenana Road. We have a training center in Lenana Road. So why Lenana? Why a training center, Radull? It was very difficult. We could not scout players everywhere in the. We can't scout every player. So what we do, we give trials to the player. I can see the touch of the player. I can see how the physique, and we have a conditional training. We have a coach who trains the ball side. So definitely, Mahad Karibu, welcome to Lenana Road. Welcome to our center. Just come here and you see how good you are.
So you can be found on Lenana Road. Someone can just walk in. If they claim they are good, you put them to the test. And if they're good enough, do they pay or depends?
Depends.
On their level of talent. If they're not talented, they pay. If they're talented.
No, not really. You know what we are trying to do, Radull? We have a coach to pay. We have a center to pay. We have a nutritionist to pay. So definitely, it's a case to case with the players. Then we can take a player from a very talented player from Kibera, and we try to balance everything. So we can't just say, hey, sisi ni watu tunafanya kitu bure, kujeni wote. We can't do that.
No, but I mean that's most of the academies I've visited here in Nairobi, even Cheza Sport in South B. The kids from Karen Pay and the kids from Pipeline, depending on your level of talent, you come for free. It's the way it is. Yeah. It's the way it is. You guys have costs, the way you're saying. Apart from, we've actually gone 1 hour, but I'm not done with you guys. If you could just give me a few more minutes. I know Atotos Sports also does something to do with infrastructure. What's that program?
Yeah, we do sports infrastructure. We've done 3 in South Sudan. And
by infrastructure, you mean what? Artificial pitches, eh?
Yeah, artificial pitches. And for the first time, I went to Somalia just because of business. This business of sports has taken me everywhere. People say that sports doesn't have money, but I just smile. I keep smiling saying that sports doesn't have money. But the thing is, sports pays, eh? So for the first time I went to Somalia, and the reason why I went to Somalia is because I had got to negotiate a deal to build a stadium. So we are doing a stadium in Somalia. So it depends with the client, depending with your budget, but I don't want to go into details of the figures, because the kind of figures that we hear here in Kenya and the duration, because we started a stadium in Somalia, January. And in the next 4 or 5 weeks, we should be handing over. And we're doing that in partnership with our partners in Belgium and Holland, because the kind of facilities that we are building, we want sustainable facilities. Just going into detail to that, because if you ask me from my perspective as a professional, if you ask me if Kenya we need 7 stadiums, I'll say no. Because one, there's something called sustainability. Are we able to sustain a 60,000-seater stadium? The answer is no, because we're not able to sustain that. But if we have a 10,000-seater, 5,000-seater, 3,000-seater, depending on the location, that stadium or that pitch can be sustainable. Because that's how we are going to start even attracting sponsors back into our football. because all sponsors want to see is numbers. And you can't put 5,000 or 10,000 Gor Mahia fans in Kasarani and expect to have some sort of visibility. We are lying to ourselves, Carol. Let's be realistic, and we don't need those. We need sustainability. Our club's model, are these sustainable? Because those are the kind of questions that we should ask ourselves. So I think that's a discussion for another time. But going to the sports facility where we design, then advise you on what kind of facility to put, because we can't just take the money. We just have to advise you, tell you in this location.
If there's someone sitting in Kenya, some Sonko sitting here in Kenya and saying, I want to build a pitch, or say Gor Mahia want to finally get their own grounds, you can walk in and advise them on how to.
Yes, we can do that. Yeah, we can do that and advise them. Even the governors that probably want to, or even the MCS, because the budget is not that huge. It's not that those huge money. You'll be surprised.
But you need a big investor. I recently bought a 4.5 acre land in Bondo, so I'll consult you. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, please. I saw that. I'm almost sending you a proposal for the same.
I don't have money. I need to look for investors, man. I need to find my investors.
But because at the end of the day, Caro, you need to answer several questions. You as an investor, why do I need this stadium? What's my target client? Who am I targeting in Bondo? Because if you can't have those answers, you as an investor, you as a developer, it just makes sense to you first before it makes sense to anyone else. So this is kind of
generally where are we getting it wrong? Because you said just now that people say there's no money in sports, yet there's a lot of money in sports. There is a lot of money in sports, but unfortunately, the reason where our statement of there's no money comes in is because our sportsmen and women, or some of the less, I don't want to call them poor, but they're not earning what they should be earning as sports people. You know, they're on the lower income bracket. So the people, for me, who should be making the money in sport are not making the money in sport.
So if I can jump a bit over, let's just for once be selfish and just talk about football. We all know that three way in our football club makes their money using a model of Europe, because that's probably where we can say models are working.
Player sales and gate.
Player commercial, match day, and TV rights.
Yes.
Let's come back home. TV rights. How are we able to negotiate a deal with a broadcaster having in mind that we have 20 clubs that depend on that money? Because when you negotiate a deal with a TV broadcaster, you have in mind that you have 20 clubs that you'll be representing. 20 clubs. That is the TV rights. When it comes to match day, you as a club, what are you doing to make sure that people want to come to your match? Because if you take them to a 50 or 60,000 seater, and they are like 2-seated here, 5-seated here, there's no that hype, because football is all about hype. And if we cheer together, even the next weekend, are we making our stadiums to be friendly, our match? Because some of those things doesn't need the government to do. Some of those things need the club level to do, because you as a club, you need people to come to your match because you want to get an income from your matches. What is it that you do?
Yeah. Photo of just a study. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let me just throw that.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, we can't say we want money in our football when we have empty stadiums. We are lying to ourselves, Carol. Because it's a product. Because you have fans in the stadium, a brand like Atotos Sports says, there's a lot of fans in this match. I want to be a match day sponsor. Because you might not even have a full shirt sponsor, but you might attract a match sponsor. A match sponsor can decide, okay, a match between AFC and Gor, I just want my board to be there. You might not have a shirt sponsor for the entire season, and and partners. These people need a lot of educating and a lot of talk, because for a club to be sustainable and saying money has to go, okay, I'm just holding some factors constant, whereby our officials probably might mismanage. But the thing is, do we have a sustainable clubs? Is our model working? That's the question that we should ask ourselves. How are we using income? Yeah,
I think our clubs have failed us. Our clubs, I'm sorry to say, and how they're managed. Yeah, there are a lot of other problems up there, Jamal. But the reason I'm saying that is because clubs have not taken an initiative in developing and branding themselves and their players to make themselves attractive and to make the whole sport attractive. We can blame the federation and the government as much as we can, but at the end of the day, it's not the government or the federation to bring in your fans. And let me tell you where I'm coming from, because Nick mentioned the broadcast partners. The reason it's so hard to get broadcast partners here in Kenya is because of the sheer cost of live broadcast. There's a reason SuperSport can do it, because they charge subscription. I was in charge of Bamba Sport, we tried it. The sheer cost of having a crew of, heaven knows, between 15 and 20 people on location, just doing cameras and sound and all this stuff. Even if you scale it down, sometimes you work with even 6 or 8 cameras, which is not ideal. The sheer cost is unbelievable. So even as a broadcast sponsor, you still have to look for a corporate sponsor to offset your bill. What does a corporate sponsor ask? How many people are actually watching? Back to the eyeballs. The stadiums are empty. People are not watching the game on TV. It doesn't matter how you package it. Even when KPL was on SuperSport, the viewership was still very low and it was so well packaged. So it's the clubs who need to find a way to brand and bring in the fans. And I'm not excusing the management or the government. They have their own responsibilities. But that is why I'm saying clubs are helping us. And I can see, Jamal, you disagreed with that statement.
No, not really, Radull. If we come back to the ile mambo ya business, the business sports side, let's start with the kiwanjas. Let's start with the Sweden. Sweden is just a 10 million population. Kenya is a 50 million population. Ukiangalia watu 50 million, I believe every season, every 4 years, almost every 4 years, World Cup, Sweden going to World Cup because of not because of the population, but the preparation. How wanafanyangaje? Every Sweden, the place I live, nikishuka chini kuna kiwanja, kids are playing there, and there's academy there's academies from the clubs. So what happened? Wale wa vijana wanacheza hapo chini ya home, there's 2-3 talented players scouted from the academies, going to the academies, to the A team, and sell the players. How that's how it is. But Kenya, we don't need stadiums. We don't need big stadiums. We need viwanja. We need places that guys from Dandora can play football there. We go there and watch the talented players. If you want, go and watch the young players, because these are one.
Jamal, we're losing you on network.
Which Nick amesema? Now?
We've lost you for the last
which
on network.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Okay, what I was saying is that lazima tuwe na viwanja ndogo in our mtas, so that we can get a lot of young talent players. And the young talent players going to the clubs. The clubs, I don't know how many clubs has a football academy in Kenya Premier League, but we have to start from Tani. Vile Nick amesema, these artificial turfs, viwanja, it doesn't cost billions of Kenya shillings.
Your network is.
It doesn't cost. We don't need 100 million. If you give me 30 million Kenya shillings.
Sorry, Jamal. But I think just to sum up that, which I totally agree with, by the way, the government should not give us 5 state-of-the-art stadiums. They should give us decent pitches in every county, basically. Something. In fact, a place like Kamtoyoyo should be the bare minimum. That should be the bare minimum in every single county. And I think it should go up from there, and not the state of the art that will never fail.
Yeah.
Another Kasarani or
No, we don't need that.
What I was trying to say, can you hear me now?
yeah.
What I was trying to say, we don't need this, big stadiums everywhere. We just need the ones under Gondogo, Charlie. People can train, Kibira, there's a football stadium. All the kids are playing there. And to be honest with you, it doesn't cost millions of Kenya shillings, It's something maybe it costs maybe, maybe it costs maybe 30 million Kenya shillings, 35 million Kenya shillings.
The network is tricky again. The network is, but I understand what you're saying. I mean, last weekend I was in Kitengela, and there is one big pitch. The academy itself trains at the primary school, which they can't now because it's closed because of COVID. So everybody uses a pitch in the center of Kitengela, and it is booked from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. just back-to-back games, back-to-back, and it's gravel, by the way, back-to-back. And because of heavy rains, those of 7 a.m. had started at 10 a.m. So the whole program had been moved. I think some teams either didn't get to play that day. I don't even know how they sort that out. But it's unfortunate that you're seeing so many teams waiting for one pitch. When I hosted the girls here last time, Corazon and Neddy, and we were talking about how Women's Premier League have to play in the morning in most cases because there are no pitches. And this is for Premier League. This is not even for training, which I know, Jamal, you're talking about those kids in the estate who just train on the weekend and play around. That, forget about it. If big games have to be put at 10 a.m. in the morning because the pitch is reserved for the Premier League. So we have a huge infrastructure problem, but I don't know. I mean, we've gone on for over an hour. I'm not sure if there are any parting words you would like to tell us about Atotos. Probably wrap up how somebody can find you and what you can do for them, but also what they should look out for in sport. And Nick, we were talking about how it's not, you don't only have to be a footballer. There's so many other opportunities in sport.
Yeah. So I think probably Jaman can wrap up in terms of where you can get us and all that. But basically, I'm just going to give a general overview of the industry, especially in Kenya, and probably what needs to be done. Because this is not something for, you can just blame it on the government. This, every person has a role in how probably from now, maybe in the next 5 years to 10 years, our football will be, maybe our sports are going to be as a country. Because when you look at, there are several things. Of course, we can blame the government when it comes to the policy, because when you look at the Sports Act, because that's a law that governs us sports people. Because when you look at the Sports Act, it doesn't cater for the activities doesn't protect the player. And that's the act that we have in our country, our Sports Act. So what the government knows is they know Minister of Sports and Federation. That's where it reaches. Our Sports Act doesn't cover the activities where they create employment. So when we start blaming the government, those are the kind of things that because once we have good policies, even the federations will be responsible, but the federations having it free because it's just the ministry and federation. But where it affects the player, where it affects the sportsman, the Sports Act hasn't covered that. And that's probably a discussion where now the professional needs to come down and see what can we do to help the government, because probably they don't even know it affects, because if you don't touch the player or the sportsman, there's no way we expect the sports to grow as a country, because that's where the activities are happening. And if you can't have a policy to protect that player in terms of their contracts, their athletes and all that, I think we need to have a huge discussion on that, on how can we have the right policies when it comes to the Sports Act, because just to be amended, because it's not right, it's not protecting the player, because there's no way you're going to generate money by magic, but you have to do things right from top, and that's from the ministry. We have the right policy. How are we going to implement this policy?
Doesn't know. Do we go to the streets and demonstrate?
I don't know, but maybe
government doesn't care. Leadership doesn't care.
That's why we say there's a
Play on
Atotos.
the weekends, whatever it is you do. They need to find out how much
Yeah.
money available or the potential, the potential earnings, man.
So my advice is just back to the academies. Just work on a model that's sustainable. You know, you can't get money from the government. Just forget about it. Develop good players.
Develop good players.
Yeah, develop good players. Just focus on developing good players because that's the only model that can work for you. Because we have the talent in Kenya, but you have to develop a holistic player that even as an agent coming to you, I know that probably the next 2-3 years I'll be back to you. Just focus on that. Develop, just forget about the other model because for now, the other model, they're going to frustrate us. Because by the time we start thinking of filling a stadium, it's going to take 10 years or 5 years. But for now, what can work? I can develop a player. I can focus on these players. Make sure that each year you develop a player that you can say, this player is going for the market. You're even proud of yourself. That's the model that's going to work. Because sponsorship, you can't attract a sponsorship. You can attract okay, I'm not going to go into details, but just attract a t-shirt that you're given because you're not giving them anything in return. Me, I can just give you a t-shirt to wear, and I'm sure my brand will be visible here because you're not giving me anything in return.
You're not getting
you're not giving any value in return. So people need to know that if it's a shirt sponsorship, right, you have to give me something in return. Otherwise, if I'm spending on you, why should I not just go spend on my marketing department just to have influencers pushing my product if I'm just giving you money with no reason? So we just need to be honest, Carol. You know,
but it's true. But that's why I put so much responsibility on clubs because clubs will make their game attractive for us to go and watch.
Yeah. So just to be honest,
the fans
focus on model that is working for you. Develop the players.
Any parting shot before I let you go?
Jamal is going to do the parting shots on where you can get us and probably what we are doing and all that.
Radull, let me show you.
Yeah, that is frozen. Yeah, you were showing me? Or you were taking me to the other side of your office?
Center, our office.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. This is the training center. This is where our elite players training. 2 hours, 2 times in a day. This is the place that Wanakapa talking about the nutrition, motivation talk with the big players. So Lenana Road, Kujelivana, he always here.
So this is what you have. This is your Lenana Road offices.
Yeah.
Exactly, and our center.
So you guys, you've seen what there is at Atotos Sports Management there on Lenana Road. Make a point. By the way, go and find them on Instagram and then get the details from there. For those of you who don't even know where Lenana Road is, sorry, there are people who don't. Find Atotos Sports Management on Instagram. I'll tag you after this show as well. And then people can come down there and see what individual help you can give them.
Just one more thing, Radull Kabla. I just wanted to tell the young boys and the girls who are playing football, you know, just playing football and seeing Eric Ouma Marcelo playing in Sweden, it's just easy. It's not that easy, you know. There's a story behind the scene. There's someone like Eric, he trains, someone like Marcelo trains 3 to 4 times in a day, you know. Program yake inaanza 6 in the morning in the gym, training with the team, training with the personal trainer in 6 in the jioni. You know, so the same thing with Anthony Wambani, the same thing with Eric Yohana. You know, it's not easy just to score goals for Kenya national team because what he do is and I train extra every day. So you guys try to train and train and train. There's no shortcut in football. Someone like David Majak, you know, a refugee boy from South Sudan to Kakuma to Tusker, and now we're taking him to Sweden. You know. He was MVP of Chapadimba. Yeah, he was MVP of Chapadimba. Which Chapadimba, they are doing a very good, Safaricom are doing very good job, very, very good job. scouting and having tournament all over the country. But the finishing touch, that's the saddest story I could even, because you can't take 16 players when there's Spain, MVP going to Spain, alafu arudi, without even scouting them. So I wish Safaricom wangetupatia hiyo project ya kupeleka wachezaji Europe, because I promise you, Radull, tungewacha wachezaji watatu, wanne, watano playing in different clubs, because what we could do is take the players to Sweden, play with different clubs, bring our scouts there, bring our agents, bring our clubs there. Let's say just 5 players may stay in Sweden. After 5 years, it's 25 players. 25 players, 25 Kenyan players playing in Sweden. In 5 years, there's 5 players, Kenyan 5 players playing in Champions League. So I think Chapadimba, Safaricom are doing a very good job. But promotion, please, just try to change, because you guys are spending a lot of money. You guys can make better,
The challenge for them, it's PR first, Where
I understand. Imagine Radull. The PR is a player from David Majak, who plays in Safaricom. Chapandimba. After 3 years, we're taking him to Sweden. But imagine if you could take David Majak 2 years ago. That's PR in game.
Yeah, somebody needs to advise them that if you have 3 big players in Europe, that's all the PR you need. They started.
Yeah, we could have given them very good PR value for Majak.
I know somebody.
Instead of me talking about Chapadimba best players, which is the Kenya national team, because they're scouting all over the country, going to Spain, stay there for 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 weeks, come back. So please, if I go back to the story of David Majak, is product of Chapandimba, and we are taking him to Sweden. So
you still represent Ovela Ochieng? Is he still?
Sorry,
Ovela Ochieng, is he one of your players?
Ovela, we took him to Sweden, played in Sweden, and still in Sweden. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll let you guys go. I'll put up a post a bit later on for anyone who wants to get you to go to Atotos Sports Management. This show, I'll go and pin it on the page, because most people actually watch later, not live. Most watch over the next 7 days. So it'll be pinned on the page. I'll send you the link if you want to share it. But thank you, guys. It's been really insightful. And I know Nick was worried about what we're going to talk about for 1 hour, and we've spoken for 90 minutes. And if I allowed Jamal, he'd go on for another 90.
True, very true, very true.
Thank you guys so much. I've actually,
so much, Carol.
I hope those watching have. Huh?
Asante sana, Carol.
And I'll come and visit your offices.
Karibu bwana. Kwanza kuja siku ya Idi, tuna nyama hapa.
I'll apply for a job because you're ignoring women. I have been.
Please come.
So take care. Have a lovely afternoon. Okay.
You too.
Bye-bye.